Hi everyone, welcome back to my page. Today I'm starting a new series called 30 Clips of Nail Tips where I give you guys nail hacks and tutorials. Today is the first episode and I'm going to teach you guys how to make a gradient. So to make a gradient you will need some pigment powder. I love using pigment powder, it's really flawless. You're going to need a main color and a color darker than that color to add some depth. You're also going to need an applicator and a fluffy brush. I use this eyeshadow brush, it works really well. And you'll also need some matte top coat. You cannot skip that step. First, you're going to apply a thin but even layer of matte top coat. Matte top coat is so important because it gives the pigment powder an even but also smooth layer to stick to. Then you're going to take your main color first and you're going to apply it to the bottom of the nail or wherever your design is starting. I'm going to really rub it in. Don't be afraid to rub in a lot of powder, but make sure that you don't go too high because it's really hard to correct mistakes. So make sure you're only putting pigment powder where you need pigment powder to be. Because I'm doing a French tip gradient, I'm really pulling up the pigment powder on the corners of the nail to give a kind of rounded out effect. But of course, you can apply this to whatever design you're doing, just tweak it. Then I'm going to use my fluffy brush to blend out any harsh lines and create a seamless transition like that. It's absolutely important that you make sure that you have no harsh lines because harsh lines are going to ruin that gradient effect and they're not going to give you a smooth transition. Then I'm going to take the darker color and I'm going to apply firstly a very thin line of that dark color to the center or the bottom of your design where your design is starting, the starting point. Again, I'm going to use my fluffy brush and blend it out, and then I'm going to alternate between using the applicator and the brush to blend it out and make it look nice and clean and transition like that. Now that the gradient part is done, we're going to move on to the cleanup. I'm using some acetone on a different applicator and I'm going to cut away at the pigment powder where I don't want it. You can also use alcohol, but I find that acetone removes it better without making the colors bleed onto each other. It's also really important that you only remove pigment powder from where you don't want it to be and where you never want it to be, because the pigment powder won't stick to acetone, so if you put it somewhere where you want pigment powder to be, it'll get stuck. And here's a final product before top coat. It'll definitely look better on the client because that is the angle they're going to see it, and look how beautiful that gradient is. Nice and smooth. No airbrush cleaning required. So I'm going to show you an example of what not to do with pigment powder. So everything looks the same here, but actually I messed up the gradient here and I wiped the nail with a wipe and alcohol. And the problem with that is while the alcohol does get the pigment powder off really well, it also keeps the pigment powder off really well. And that means that when you go back to reapply the pigment powder, it's not going to stick to the nail at all. And as you can see, I'm just rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, and it is barely sticking. So to fix that, you're going to apply another layer of matte top coat. And that's it. Make sure to follow for more nail tips.